Hey, it's Don. Today I wanted to address what has been happening in retail clothing and apparel right now. It's pretty much been a crash of the entire market. Obviously, the stores are closed, but there's way more going on than just that. The warehouses are full in this country right now. The merchandise kept coming over. This stuff has been ordered months, years in advance. Like with seasonal wise as well, summer should already be out. It's not out. They still have spring stuck in the stores. Everything else is stuck in warehouses overseas. Right now, every clothing company that I can find is canceling orders left and right for massive bulk of clothing. Just because their warehouses are full, the stores are stocked, they don't know what to do with the merchandise. They could be closed for another month or two in some areas. They can't move the stuff around either. Most places are requiring those types of stores to be closed in the first place. So the market in general has taken a dive totally across the board. What's also going on is the companies are asking for discounts for the invoices they owe for right now. So it's hitting the producers, the manufacturers. It's hitting the employees who are actually working in the factories. They're out jobs. Many of them may not return for a very long time. Some countries could lose 10 or 15, even maybe 20% of their GDP, which is the gross domestic product of their entire country. Now, for those who were around in 2008, which I was, and I did sell clothing online, we took a massive dive for a couple of years, even in the used clothing market. Back in 2008 with the recession, the whole clothing industry didn't know what to do. So they ended up with all of this backstock and they put it on massive markdowns for a very long time. A couple of years in many cases. You could still go anywhere and see markdowns pretty much everywhere you went. People just weren't shopping. They weren't going to the big boxes or the standalone brick and mortar stores as much either. They were saving their money. The recession lasted for a couple of years. So that's when we actually started working ourselves out of clothing, because it was killing us at that time. Now, even when the stores were done, the recession was picking back up. They had a very hard time raising the prices back to normal levels. So you still saw markdowns everywhere. People just didn't want to pay full price anymore. They were so used to several years of discounts everywhere trying to get rid of merchandise that the clothing company couldn't. It had backstock. Prior to this, the companies were already backstocked and backlogged. There were still sales going on for Christmas to get rid of the extra merchandise. Meanwhile, more merchandise has been coming in through the beginning of this year, 2020, up until everything shut down. So they have warehouses full. Even after this is done, you're going to have people nervous on cash flow coming in, as well as nervous about being in public. So they're trying to work their way into online sales of this, but that's not how their industry has been made. That's not the structure of it. Most clothing stores work on a in-person brick and mortar basis. So you're going to see a ton of markdowns coming around for clothing resellers. You're going to have to compete with brand new merchandise marked down 30, 40, 50, even up to 70%. That is what happened in 2008. Now, research this yourself if you're into clothing. I'm just giving you a heads up. No reason to panic as of yet. Go to Chrome, do a search, type in apparel, clothing, retailers, pandemic, and then search for the last 30 days and see how many issues and stories there are on such as Wall Street Journal, Forbes, about the crash that is coming. Clothing and retail could lose a massive amount of the value in their product. Because again, it's flooded right now. There is clothing galore in warehouses and everywhere else. Every month since this started, they have been getting shipments coming in. It's a routine. The stuff's scheduled. As I said, they buy a year, sometimes longer in advance, to get the clothing made and have it ready on time. They're trying to stop the bleed right now by cutting their orders, stopping them. Sometimes some of these orders were actually produced. They just can't be shipped. So a lot of companies are going to be told to liquidate that merchandise on closeout stores and things like that. You'll also see them showing up in department stores, maybe rebranded, and all sorts of things. So the price in clothing is going to take a hit. It's going to bring down brand new clothing closer to the price of used clothing. Your number one safety net in this aspect would be to diversify as vastly and as safely as you can. Now, where you diversify in is going to be up to you, but you're going to have to do it. Again, I did this in 2008. I did clothing in 2008, and it was horrid after it started to settle. And this is going to be far worse in many cases. People have been out of work in some places for months by the time this will be done. So again, take that into consideration. Don't just be dumping a ton of money into clothing until you see where it's going to go once everything opens back up. I would 100% be researching other options to sell, other things, other venues, wholesale, whatever you can break into. I would be drastically looking into doing that. Again, it's not panic mode. And as I said, we do have recent history from 2008, from the recession, to judge on how bad this is going to be. We've far exceeded any form of unemployment rises in this one incident that we have from the history pretty much of recording unemployment ratings. Things are not looking great. The government's gave out the biggest stimulus package in history of this country. So you got to look at diversifying. Don't put all your eggs into one basket, especially into the clothing industry, again, because clothing is taking a hit. Again, check online for yourself. Do a simple Chrome search for the last 30 days on retail and apparel, clothing in general, and you will see the drastic amount of stories. Do another search and go back and look at 2008, what happened and how long it took to recover. This affected us as a reseller in 2008, and it wasn't anywhere near as bad as it is right now. Again, I'm giving you the warning. Look into it. There's many things you can do. You've got time. But again, you better start thinking about diversifying now. You better look in and study up on other areas so that you are going to be covered if clothing doesn't move for everybody. I'm getting a lot of people commenting and emailing me and messaging me who do clothing, saying their clothing sales have tanked as well online. So again, be cautious on what you sell. Don't invest a ton of money into an area if it's not producing returns for you. So if you're not able to sell clothing, it's not selling for you, you can't get the right brands, whatever the case may be, you have to diversify. That's the number one thing you can do to keep yourself afloat, is to diversify. There will also be more competition in the clothing area. A lot of people are home trying to sell their goods now. So whether they die off after this or not isn't a question. Whether they turn to doing the same things, the clothing industry right now is in dire jeopardy in many cases because of these issues. Again, warehouses full, stores are full, no one's buying. Even after the stay-at-home is lifted, people are still going to be very cautious. A second wave can come through as well. So we've got to be very leery on that. You've got to be safe. You've got to look at where you're sinking your money into. So be cautious, be safe. Look into it yourself. Don't just take my word on it. Look into it. The information is very clear from 2008, as well as what's going on with retailers right now. Big companies like Adidas and stuff are already canceling orders and putting stuff on secondary outlets and discounters right this very minute. If you look across online, you'll see sales on clothing all over the place. You're going to see retail prices going down in clothing right this very second, because again, they've got so much of it and they can't sell it in stores. They're trying to market it online. They're in competition with other people, so the prices are going down. You've just got to be careful at what you're doing. Investigate everything. Don't sink all your eggs into one basket. But that's what I have for you. Take that in consideration. Research it yourself. Know yourself what's going on. It is key to your business if you are a clothing reseller. But that's what I have. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit that like button down below. You can also hit the bell icon to be notified if I post new content or go live. Subscribe and tell all your friends.
Watch Zelda become a legend on your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Zelda! After rocks!
Which way you go?
Good times! Pee hands!
Levers!
Zelda! Zelda! Zelda!
The Legend of Zelda. A never-ending adventure new for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
Zelda!